48 hours for Xbox has been an absolute disaster, seeing as how this company in a mere day have given themselves the actual 12-gauge salute really is the most insane thing to see. Watching as Xbox decided to go through and increase the price of Game Pass, the only pro-consumer thing they had left for this company and brand, and increase the price by 50%, truly knows no amount of stupidity that is left in that company, seeing as how there are continuous tweets and ratios happening to every single Xbox account just because they're consistently pushing this actual narrative of how good this new change in fact is. People going around and canceling their Game Pass sub-services behind every tweet Xbox makes. And even then, the stock of Microsoft, really didn't go too well. Even though it is on a bounce back, that dip is not looking good for any investor overall. I don't understand what Xbox is in fact doing. And the crazier part is watching actual clowns on the internet decide to take victory laps, thinking that they knew about everything the entire time and how unsustainable this all was, even though on their own part, they've been going around and having to pay more for their own services after multiple price hikes, and even paying more for their own consoles after multiple price hikes. What's that saying about glass houses? Yeah, don't throw that stone. But the thing is, we're not talking about them. We're talking about what Xbox has done specifically. Watching other people go through and say, you know what? I'm basically done with the console space. And basically even deciding to move directly into PC gaming. And maybe that's exactly what Xbox wants. But I feel like that may not even be the case, because Xbox themselves are incredibly tone deaf. And the problem in the gaming industry isn't the fact that companies are making money. It's the fact that they're not making enough money. And the real problem is the pricing structure that's happening right now. People saying the most ridiculous things like, oh, it's inflation. That's the reason why Xbox increased the price. And then when they say something stupid on Twitter, they go ahead and lock their account. Real smart, real good. You could have just taken the L and been fine with it and realized that inflation has nothing to do with actual corporate greed. Then we want to talk about, tariffs. Yes, I bet tariffs were the cause of digital ones and zeros as the reason why they had to increase the price of Game Pass by 50%. All of these things are tertiary. In fact, they're excuses for what the gaming industry is using to nickel and dime you on a consistent basis. And the biggest problem is the amount of tone-deaf behavior that Xbox is actually portraying. Because one of the biggest nerfs that we've seen with Game Pass and the recent changes was in fact for their points structure. You see, Microsoft Reward Points was a big thing. Keyword in the was, because you were actually able to go through and earn enough points every single month to basically pay for Game Pass. You could go through, use Microsoft services, use Bing Search if you wanted to, play games on your Xbox, pay for games as well, and then earn points that way, and then earn enough points every single month to go through and use that to basically supplement Game Pass itself. Xbox and Microsoft made a ton of money off of that, even though they weren't getting anything physically, because they sell your data. Everybody does it. Everybody knows they do it. That's what they do. They take your data and then they sell it, and then they make money that way. So clearly, they have to make more money either way. And it turns out that they nerfed the ability to do that. You can no longer get Game Pass through Microsoft Reward Points. What you can get, though, however, are gift cards. And you see, I'll show you exactly what I was doing with Microsoft Reward Points. I was earning a little bit over 8,000 points a month, and I was actually able to buy PC Game Pass for free by simply playing games and having the Xbox app open in the background and then supplement Xbox Game Pass. The problem is, though, because of this change, here's how many points it takes now. You see, PC Game Pass isn't the low price of what, $11.99 like it used to be. Now it's $16.49. The problem is, though, you cannot get a gift card for $16.49. You can't even get a $20 gift card. You can only get 10 or 25. And even right now with my level 2 discount, it is 9,500 points. And by doing the math, I would basically have to do 7,000 points for 2 months in order to buy one $10 gift card, and then I'm still short $6.49. So basically, I would have to do 4 months of pretty much slave labor work in order to actually get Game Pass for PC for 1 whole month. To go through and completely nerf another way of a user to go around and actually get the service that is the only thing making it viable in the first place truly is a ridiculous thing. And on top of that, the fact that PC Game Pass is $16.49 and not $30 basically shows one thing and one thing only. They are screwing over every single customer they possibly can. That simply tells me that the console versions of Game Pass could afford to be that price of $16.49 and still get all the perks and benefits, because that's what you get on the PC side as well. None of this makes any sense whatsoever for Xbox, and what they're basically doing is trying to go ahead and nickel and dime every single person they possibly can to make as much profit as they possibly can. And people are in fact absolutely getting sick of it. Here's what Brad Sams on Twitter had to say. Probably the first time I have considered actually downgrading or moving to PC for next gen. The new benefits have zero value to me personally. The premium tier has little value, so maybe just essential and getting rid of Ultimate. The games I will play the most this year are COD, first half, and now Helldivers and Battlefield 6, neither of which are part of Game Pass. And honestly, I've been inundated with people asking me, Alex, what kind of PC can I get for this amount of money? What kind of build should I get for this? What do you recommend for anything along this space? I have seen that consistently over the past 24 to 48 hours, because clearly the space right now that we are in, where at PC Gaming has a cheaper entry for Game Pass in the first place, gets all the benefits, doesn't have to pay for online, and also has access to Steam as well, even though there are problems with Steam right now, which we will talk about in just a moment. The thing is, though, there is a massive pricing problem in the gaming industry, and the industry themselves don't want to correct it because they clearly only want to see that line go up on a consistent basis. Hell, even Jez Corden on Twitter said this: genuinely didn't expect to ever unsubscribe to Game Pass Ultimate. Today, Microsoft says it's not for me. That's fine if that's what they want. Do they have data that people will stick at $30 a month with the new model? I guess we'll see. I'm seriously not optimistic, but I rarely am. And seeing people like Jez Corden, who are giving Microsoft very hard-earned money every single month, drop down to a far lower tier in order to give less money as well, is not going to be something that looks good on the balance sheet at the end of the day. And what I feel like is actually going to be happening, though, is people that are still in that ecosystem and don't really care about how much money they spend every single month are going to go through and are going to get squeezed out of every penny they possibly can. Remember, Microsoft is the same company that was also right behind Nintendo for $80 games until the backlash hit them and they pulled that back down to $70. But you know, $80 is going to hit at some point. And what really bothers me the most is this entire idea that's been happening on the internet of calling someone a brokey simply because they have more money than sense. And that's the real problem with all of this. The entire external pressure behavior of this whole thing of talking about, oh, you only have Game Pass because you're poor. Well, apparently Game Pass costs so much money, only the rich can actually afford it now. It's honestly completely tone-deaf behavior for Microsoft to act this way. And if you really want to see about true tone-deaf behavior, look at this. According to Games Radar, Microsoft continues reading anything but the room with a full-page Xbox Game Pass advertisement on console startup a day after hiking prices by 50%. The own goals keep on coming. I just can't. I really, they actually thought in this boardroom meeting that this was going to be a good idea for all of this, for everyone to go through and be like, guys, we're going to redo the tiers. We're going to give the actual customer and consumer less and then charge them more. And they all clapped like seals in the boardroom. Satya was getting his head rubbed by everybody for good luck. Way to go, my boy. Good job on that one. Smart play. That's right. The stock price went down and now they're going to go through and say, hey, guess what? Game Pass got a facelift. Oh, you're thinking, awesome, cool. Let me take a look at it. Nope, it's a price hike and less stuff happening. And the crazier part is, the rumor now going around is that there's possibly going to be another tier of Xbox Game Pass that puts advertisements inside of Game Pass. Ads inside of a service you pay for. That's honestly the Hulu model that we're seeing right now. Yes, I pay for a service, therefore I need to see ads inside that service. The reason why you pay for it is to not get the ads. I'm giving you the money directly. Why are you going to get more ads from me as well? Do you know what this reminds me of? Oh my God. Sit. Have a seat for this one. Back in 2022, just a few years ago, it turns out Xbox did this. According to PC Magazine back in 2022, Microsoft files a patent for displaying personalized ads in games. Microsoft wants to offer immersive personalized content as they play. That has got to be the most ridiculous thing ever. But honestly, it gets worse, because if you think Xbox is the only one to make this kind of patent, wait till you see what PlayStation does to you as well. According to Tech Radar, back in 2023, a Sony patent would have you yell at your TV to skip commercials. These companies and corporations are absolutely out of control. That patent from Sony, by the way, it's real. Yeah, jump up and say McDonald's to skip the commercial while you're playing a game or watching a TV show. Oh, did you give us $10 for Game Pass? That's not enough. We got to go ahead and put this ad right in front of you. Oh, were you enjoying that match of Call of Duty? Nope. Go ahead and watch this 2-minute set of ads. You thought Twitch was bad with ads? You thought YouTube was bad with ads? Wait until you see what happens with Game Pass and PS Plus, baby. It's a whole entire actual cyberpunk dystopia, and we're just here for the ride, my boys. According to the article, though, by Games Radar, reports of an obnoxious startup advertisement emerged on social media, so I booted up my Xbox Series X to confirm. Sure enough, the very first thing you see when you load your console is a bold declaration that you can, quote, get even more with Ultimate, the priciest and most feature-complete Xbox Game Pass tier. Starting November 4th, subscription price will update in applicable regions. Click View My Plan to learn more, the ad reads. This may be Microsoft's way of meeting some obligation to inform users of pricing and service changes. But even if that is the case, the presentation is as tone-deaf as it gets. And no, they're not kidding. In fact, here's Tom Warren putting that exact tweet online right there. It is literally there, clear as crystal, as easy as pie to see, that Microsoft is in fact 100% completely tone deaf in every sense of the word. The fact that they've removed the ability to use points to even get Game Pass in the first place. The fact that they've raised the price of the service. And even worse, they've gone through and are now shoving it in your face like, hey, guess what? It's going to be the best thing ever. Give us more money for less. And it really is getting even worse, because not only has this kind of thing happened on the console space, apparently it's also creeping into the PC side on Steam. It turns out that also, according to Games Radar, quote, Valve must stop making excuses. Steam is under fire for significant price disparity for PC games, causing regional pricing that's often 20 to 30% higher than the dollar equivalent. And we've been seeing this happen for quite some time in the gaming space. We've seen things like $70 and 70 euro or 70 British pound sterling, and the conversions don't really mean a lot, and other users in other countries are in fact ending up paying more, and that's going to be a real problem moving forward if Steam doesn't fix these issues. YouTuber WaterCS2 points out these differences in a new video. Aptly dubbed, Steam has a pricing problem. He uses the recent Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater as an example of the disparity, which he points out is priced at $69.99 USD in the States. However, players in other regions like Poland are paying much more. You would assume a fair price, roughly the equivalent of the dollar price, says WaterCS2, but instead it's 369 PLN. Using Google's exchange rate of approximately 3.66 PLN to 1 USD, he determines that the game's cost is over $101 in Poland, where its price is converted to USD. That makes the game roughly $31 more expensive than in the US, describes the YouTuber. A whopping 30% increase. A Polish gamer is paying more than some living in New York for the exact same digital file. This, quote, significant price disparity for PC games doesn't seem fair. And yes, I do know that at the moment, before you start slamming onto your keyboards, that publishers and developers are in fact the ones responsible for setting the prices. The difference is, though, is that Valve is using outdated information from 2022 in order to go through and suggest the pricing for their titles and games, which means the actual amount of conversion and economy adjustments that have happened in the gaming space have not been adjusted for the past 3 years. So when you want to talk about inflation impacting the gaming industry, that is actual inflation. The actual value of different amounts of currency in the gaming space being a problem for people, that is the actual issue right there. Not about the rising cost of games going to $70 to $80 or increasing the cost of services by 50% or talking about tariffs. That is real issues that are happening right now that could easily be fixed by Valve. But of course, the article says even more. As Water CS2 points out, this issue isn't exclusive to Metal Gear. Local prices are often 20 to 30% higher than the dollar equivalent. He details that it all boils down to Steam's regional pricing system. The idea is great. Games shouldn't cost the same everywhere, because $60 means something very different in the US than it does to Brazil. Valve uses complex economics like purchasing power to parity to suggest lower prices in regions with less buying power. In theory, this should make games more accessible to a larger audience, but Water CS2 says the problem lies in the data Valve uses to make these suggestions. According to the YouTuber, Valve hasn't updated its conversion rates since 2022, when it first introduced the regional pricing system. At that point in time, the Polish currency was near its weakest, but Steam is still using this week-old rate from 3 years ago. The regional pricing system was meant to make games affordable, not expensive, Water CS2 concludes. This unfortunately doesn't seem to reflect the reality of how it's played out without any adjustments though. It is now a direct cause of the unfair prices Valve wanted to prevent in the first place. Valve must stop making excuses and fix its core pricing data immediately. The comments show users affected by said unfair prices were agreeing. So yes, even Steam is having its own issues with pricing right now, especially if you're not in the US and are part of other regions in the world. I know, we're the best, but the thing is, other countries in fact do exist. And if you live in another country and your actual games are not being priced correctly due to the strength of your actual economy, then that's going to be a bigger problem for you. And I know right now somebody's going to be saying, Alex, well, it's not Steam's fault or Valve's fault. The publishers and developers set the prices. Yes, they in fact do. But what they set the prices on are based on what Valve actually provides for the data of what you should actually charge. And if the data is old, then it really doesn't make any sense and you're just going ahead and using that data as well. Or even the worst case possible scenario, the actual publisher and developer knows how expensive it is and they go along with it anyways, not correcting the mistake in the first place, raking in more money from other countries that simply just can't afford that kind of game. It really goes to show how honestly insane the gaming industry actually is, at the fact that so many companies are still going through and not realizing what actually makes them money in the first place. Casting a wider net of users to go through and have more games and copies sold is far better than trying to squeeze the simple 1 to 2% of users right now that have all the money available to spend. Building an entire gaming industry on a house of cards does not help in any sense of the word, and all it basically does is squeeze out more people that could be giving you more money in the first place simply because you want to cater to the whales, and it's never a good thing. We see it happen with Nvidia and their GPUs. We see it happen with AMD basically copying Nvidia, and we see it happen all the time in the industry. As things get more expensive, console prices get increases and not decreases throughout their actual time frame, and Game Pass gets a 50% price increase as well. And even though the gaming industry is doing its absolute worst right now, there is a really big silver lining. Valve has been that one company to go through and fix a lot of issues very quickly, or also provide the customer consumer with a better experience overall. Take a look at this. Here's Kolky on Twitter saying this, huh? What? With a picture from Steam's email saying, hello, there was a price change for a product you previously purchased. Your transaction has automatically been reprocessed at the current lower price instead, and the difference in price has been added to your Steam wallet. You will receive a receipt detailing the new price. If you're unfamiliar with Steam, what that basically means is this. Kolky went through and bought a video game recently, and then right now, the Steam Autumn Sale is in fact happening. Because the game was purchased recently, within a specific amount of time or a window, Steam went ahead and gave Kolky a refund for the difference in price because the game is now on sale. Instead of actually keeping all that extra money, Valve turned around and refunded back to Kolky onto her account extra money that she wasn't intending to spend in the first place, simply because right now the Autumn Sale is in fact happening. That is how you do it! If Microsoft and Xbox simply took a page out of what Valve is doing right now, you would see a massive difference in scope and also in reception of what Xbox is in fact doing. For some reason, it's really wild to see how a company like Valve still does things to this day, yet for some reason bucks every single trend and has the most insane following more than anybody else, simply because they do the right thing by the customer practically almost every single time. They're not perfect, but they damn sure try. Did they have to refund a couple couple of bucks back to Kulki? Absolutely not. They could have kept that extra money, but they did the right thing instead. Imagine if Microsoft and Xbox did that as well. They'd actually have good consumer reception, and they wouldn't have to worry about people canceling their sub service or going down another tier to spend less money on their platform. Another perfect example I like to use all the time that people really don't truly understand is when I talk about Path of Exile themselves and grinding gear games. You see, Chris Wilson had a really fantastic idea on what actual player trust is. It's actually a currency. Take a look.
So we try very hard to do what's in the best interest of the players. Not really to ever try to cash it out later, but it does sometimes come in handy, because sometimes a business has to make a decision which looks bad to the players, even though it's not going to hurt them. And that's where trust is important. So for example, a number of years ago, we were acquired by Tencent, and the players were very worried about this, because often being acquired by a large multinational company doesn't end well for the game. And people have seen other examples of games that changed substantially when they were acquired. We would only have entered into that deal if we had full confidence that it was going to be okay for the players. And so when we did announce it, we said, trust us, it'll be fine. And I believe it has been fine after that point. And because we had some brand deposits already made, we relied on a bit of a loan against that for the trust of them not freaking out too much about that acquisition. And hopefully everyone who observed that will see in the end that it actually was a pretty harmless thing. But if we had a history of treating the players badly, then they certainly would have had much more reason to be cynical about our motivations for that acquisition.
That's exactly what I think is happening right now with Microsoft. They've built player trust with that ability to go through and have Game Pass available for you at a cheaper price. And they decided to, at this very moment in time, cash in that player trust for quick profits and a quick return, basically just completely screwing themselves over on a consistent basis. Microsoft did the wrong play. They made the wrong move. And I think they're going to go ahead and hurt themselves in the long run for short-term goals and gains. And that's going to be really wild to see what happens in the next coming years with this platform, and the fact that the next console could be an incredibly expensive thing to purchase. And even the fact that the Xbox ROG Ally X is also $1,000 as well. Add to the fact that Game Pass Ultimate is now $30 on top of that, and PC Game Pass is almost $17. This is now going to be a point where companies are going to erode player trust for those short-term profits, simply because they're still looking back at the 2020 to 2023 market area and realizing they can no longer grow at that space. So they're going to be doing whatever they can to make that money as quickly as they can. And that's going to be the one thing that makes this industry a hell of a lot worse to game in. But I want to know what you guys have to say in the comments section down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think these pricing problems are going to be in the future? Or do you think at some point things will come crashing down and there's going to be a pretty massive reset? I want to hear what you guys have to say. If you want to see more of this kind of content though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and even live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 95K, and I just want to say thank you guys so very much. If you want Discord access or emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just show up Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Trust me, you'll have a hell of a time, as 800 people use AITTS to insult me while I wear a banana suit. You don't want to miss it. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!